Welcome back to Newsmax Now. I'm Miranda Kahn. Protests continue in Maryland today. They're rallying against the death of a man who died while in police custody. The Justice Department is now launching a civil rights investigation into the death of Freddie Gray. He died a week after being arrested from a spinal cord injury. Police officers say they arrested Gray without force and are trying to figure out what happened. An Oklahoma judge approves a vacation for the volunteer police officer facing manslaughter charges. Yesterday, Robert Bates pled not guilty to those charges. He's accused of shooting and killing Eric Harris earlier this month. Bates says he mistakenly grabbed his pistol instead of his taser. Maybe Congressman Trey Gowdy should have thought twice before shooting this picture. Colorado's Ken Buck posted this image of himself with the South Carolina congressman. You can see the two men holding a decorated AR-15. That prompted some D.C. news outlets to question whether Buck is breaking the law. Congressman Buck tells The Hill that there's no way the gun can be fired. He calls it just a beautiful paperweight. What is definitely a crime, though, is stealing, especially when it comes to Kentucky and its bourbon. 9 people now face charges for stealing barrels upon barrels of bourbon from a pair of distilleries.
You're looking between all the bourbon and what we have in evidence that's back there. You're looking in excess of $100,000 worth of bourbon right now that we've recovered.
That's a whole lot of bourbon. The thieves targeted Wild Turkey and Buffalo Trace. Investigators say they've been doing it now for nearly 7 years. One actor known for seeking new life, new civilization, offers a solution to California's drought problem. William Shatner tells Yahoo Tech he wants to start a Kickstarter campaign to raise $30 billion. The money would go towards a water pipeline in this galaxy, though, more specifically from Seattle to California. But water experts and public officials say the economics just don't work. They believe Southern California would be better served by recycling water more.
I believe the whole of Europe will be governed by the Sharia. I believe America will be governed by the Sharia. I believe China and Russia will be governed by the Sharia. This is something which we have been foretold by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's a matter of when, not if.
A matter of when, not if. Radical Muslim Anham Chowdhury there giving a warning that one day the world will be ruled by Sharia law. Our next guest warns that may already be a reality for Europe, and America could be very close behind if something isn't done to stop it. Joining me right now is Martin Moyer, documentary filmmaker of Europe's Last Stand, America's Final Warning. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you, John. Good to be here.
And it's our pleasure to have you. Now, you say Islam is already dominating Western Europe. How long before you expect to see a similar situation here in the United States?
Well, Western Europe certainly is perhaps light years ahead of being dominated by radical Islam, but we know the footprints in the sand are already occurring in the United States. And we can see it in our everyday lives. When you can't go to a theater at a university and watch American Sniper without having to have police cars there to protect you and your viewing experience. When you can't go to a baseball game anymore with now having to walk through metal detectors in case a terrorist attack is launched. In Detroit, Michigan, 2 men standing at a bus stop were asked whether they were Muslim or not. When they said no, they were stabbed. In Maine,
well, let's also talk too. Mr. Moore, let's also talk too about this Alabama family too, because they're saying they're heartbroken about the fact that their daughter has run off to join ISIS, and they have a family spokesman saying that what she has done is against against Islam. It's also un-American. But why don't we hear more of this type of language coming from these communities condemning these types of actions?
Well, I think our concern needs to be greater than just who runs off and joins ISIS. The concern in Western Europe is how many Muslims over there want to turn that continent into an Islamic state. And that's not a radical view among Muslims. You would not categorize this as a radical Muslim simply because they want Europe to reflect the Islamic values and the religion that they believe in. Any more than in the United States, we would say it's radical for a Christian to want to live in a Christian nation.
One last question for you, Mr. Moore, before we have to go here. Would you say that's the biggest difference right now between what you're seeing in Western Europe and what we're seeing here in the United States is the fact that the idea of Sharia law is not a radical idea in Western Europe and Muslim communities?
No, it's not a radical idea in Western Europe, and it's something that they're aggressively trying to enforce even on native Europeans.
All right, Martin Moyer, his film is called Europe's Last Stand, America's Final Warning. It's great to have you with us, sir, and folks can check out the documentary. What's the best place they can go to get more information on how to view it?
Either Amazon.com or our website, ChristianAction.org.
All right, thank you very much, Martin Moore. Again, the film is Europe's Last Stand, America's Final Warning. Coming up, Marco Rubio, he's one of the Koch five, but he's also taking fire from conservatives. Washington Times columnist Tim Constantine joins us coming up here next. Why Rubio has some explaining to do, and the story of one man who refused to give up, and by not doing so, he has inspired thousands of others. That's here next on Newsmax Now.